Going to share with you a tragic tale. So gather around and be prepared to laugh at someone that isn't you. There was a band that I know that was doing very well 10 years ago. Then what happened? Well, that, my friend, is a story that even makes me wince, and every time I think, oh God, couldn't you have just halved it? So, what happens after that? Then, because the person is a perfectionist, they took 10, count 'em, 10, a decade to release the next album. Do you think anybody cared? No, people stopped caring 7 years ago, 8 years ago. This is insane. I remember speaking to them as well, and they were just saying, you just have to be on the pulse all the time in music. You got to be a little bit faster than a decade! You know what happened in that decade? Obviously, because it's indie music, the indie scene moved on. The indie scene, and also, on top of this, right, like, this might be your little baby, yeah? Anything that you were ever doing creatively, anything that you were ever doing at work, it might be your precious little baby. It's no one else's. Everybody else just wants what is easy and convenient to consume, of the thing that they want to consume. They just see your music, your beautiful painting, and the one that they're just like, I must have it. And then they spend 60 grand on it just because they just make, $80 million a year. And so they put it home, they just duck it up somewhere near the toilet, they never look at it again. That is the reality of whatever you are making right now. If you are making something that is designed to be sold, if you're an actor, if you are, like an events manager or something like that, nobody cares about the frilly flowers over the front of it. They just care if it's not there. And they see that somebody else has the frilly flowers, and they go, I want that. And then immediately they forget about it, and then they start dancing to Hey Ya Drunk. That's it. And while they're doing it with Hey Ya Drunk, what are they doing? Consuming it. That's all people are, consumers of everything. Not just eating, everything. People just consume. That's what they do. You have to become peaceful with it, I suppose, is the word. You have to get at peace with that. And so this idea that I've got to spend 10 years doing it, the first thing that happens when you do that, by the way, is that you've overcooked the product. Yeah? Just like you can leave a souffle in the oven for too long. I think it's done after 10 years. Yeah? I think it's done after 9. I think it's done after a few hours. This is what happens. When people are these perfectionists, really what they're saying is they're afraid to release it. That's it. What you have to do is become unafraid of releasing things and just get into the habit of releasing. Doing is far more profound than sitting around and getting all the little, the tweaks of this brush stroke here. Maybe it should just be a little bit of a different red. No one notices. No one cares. Get it out. If it's 80% up to your standards, it's fine. One of the most freeing things that ever happened to me at Friendly Geordies is when I stopped sitting there and being like, oh, the music's just wrong in this part. And, I would have put a different effect there. Let's go back and forth and do 6 edits. No, you know what happened after that? Tripled the amount of work that I did. Because I was just like, yeah, okay, the flavor's good enough, whatever. Is it as good as a product? No, but there's more of the product. You just have to get over that at some point. You know what people enjoy? This is what I learned over and over again. A lot of the times, when I'm just sitting there and I'm writing like this very profound script in my head and I release it, 150,000 views. Sometimes when I just go on and react and be like, oh, real estate, so dumb. Takes me an hour to do because I'm just sitting there watching a TV show and then stopping and being like, this is dumb. 300,000 views. People just want to consume what they want to consume. And the other thing as well, this is something else that you need to know. Yeah? In terms of technical skill, okay, there's going to be some films out there that are just going to be like beautiful cinematography, insanely well-constructed dialogue. Do you think that it's going to sell anywhere near as much as Back to the Future? No. And you know why? Because Back to the Future has more energy. Back to the Future has more excitement around it. I bet you just pumped that shit out. Maybe they're going to come back and say like, actually, there was a lot of shit deletion. Maybe, but you know that in general I'm right. That the person that makes somebody feel a certain way, which usually is excited, when somebody makes someone feel excited, the energy moves towards that person. So when you sit there tweaking something for months, years on end, what happens? You actually start losing the draining passion of it. You're just doing it out of fear. You're just doing it out of, it has to be perfect. You're just doing it out of, oh, I haven't tried this sound yet or this sound yet. Now it's just become a labor to you. And if it's become a labor to you, do you think that other people are going to enjoy it? No. People want to see the fun that you're having. They want, what people mostly want in creative endeavors, when people say that you've gone commercial, really what they're saying is they want something that gives them permission to have fun. When you go to an event, what do they want? They want something that gives them permission to have fun. People want to walk into a house, if you're an interior designer, a house that gives them either a sense of calm or a sense of security or safety or whatever they're looking for in life, but it is a feeling that they are looking for. And so they don't really care about the technical aspects of these things. What they care about is the vibe okay, right? So as long as you can make the vibe okay, you're set. Stop worrying about, is it technically perfect? No one cares. And on top of that, it's not technically perfect. You know, I remember asking one of the people in the band, because they had a huge falling out after that, obviously, because they wanted to release it, you know, a year later. And they said, okay, so what did you think about the 10-year product? And then this is the worst part. You know what they said? It was better after the first year. That man wasted a decade of his life, all the capital that he had, all the recognition, all this steam. Because this is really what happens when you're a creative. You just have to keep living on momentum. You just have to keep pushing to the next, to the next, to the next. You never get to celebrate and sit on your laurels. You just have to push out the next thing because people want the next thing. But if you give them a break, this is what happened to Hamish and Andy when they left on the radio and then they just came back and everyone was just like, and people had moved on. If you are in a creative realm, you have to just keep producing. You can't sit there and have some 10-year ego trip. People will evolve. They'll move on. And you know what else as well? You could have done 10 albums in that time. Can you imagine how much you would have evolved as an artist if instead of just working on the same 12 songs, you were forced to work on 120 songs? If you were forced to work on 120 songs in that time, don't you think that you would become a better music writer? You absolutely would. It is the same. When you put yourself in that pressure, when you're just forced to go with the momentum, like, and then throw that out, you're fine. Most people are always sitting there being like, I need to tweak these things. You do not need to tweak these things. You need to get into the habit of moving. You need to get into the habit of momentum. You need to get in the habit of lock and load, release. Everyone hates that. Keep running. A release. Everyone hates that. Keep running. Because you know what's happening when you're doing that? You are building two skill sets. The first one is that you are building the ability to just keep going. You are building the ability to keep the energy up. And you are building the ability of the skill at the same time. Whereas if you're just sitting there tweaking the whole time, you think that you're doing the skill, but really you're just kind of like wanking around. You're faffing around. You actually build the skill from feedback. That's where you get most of the stuff. It's just like, I hated this. This is terrible. And then you realize, oh, okay, the customers want this. All right, time to move. And then you also, because you've just been going, what are you? You're stronger. You're able to do more in a day. You're able to do it faster. That's what happens. Most of you just don't have enough energy in your life. And if you had more energy in your life, if you had more output in your life, you would have more successful results. So what are we doing in our heads? As always, we are saying to ourselves, energy. That's it. That's one of your mantras that you need to go by in life, energy. Because your brain is probably going slower than it should. And you can just make it go quicker by pushing out the idea that let's move, let's go, energy, 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 energy. When you do that, you are able to produce more. When you are able to produce more, you are not only getting better at a wide array of different things, but you are able to just put out more things, and it is better that one thing is going to hit. And on top of that, you actually have accumulated all of these varied skills that you are able to do quicker and better because you are producing more. There's a reason that Mozart is famous while there's a bunch of other composers that aren't. And it's because he did 10 times the amount of work. And it is purely because he was just like, they weren't all bangers. Who cares? It's not about that. It honestly is about the batting average. It is not about getting, a perfect hit every time. It doesn't exist. It's just you keep swinging, and eventually you start get hitting more balls than the average person does. That's all you're looking for, okay? More energy. You need to write that down. That is your mantra for the next week. You just want to be putting in more energy. You want to be releasing quicker. That's all I want from you. Do not turn into this guy that spent 10 years on his next project, and when he did, his audience had outgrown him, and on top of that, it was worse because he was just tweaking around with it. You do not want to end up like that person. All right, I'll see you around.